guys, this is your reading for Saturday the 2nd of December. Thanks for joining me. I'm using the Truth Seekers Tarot today, which is a really kind of fitting name for a tarot deck because that's what you try and do with the tarot, to get an insight into what the truth is, what's going to come up. So I'm going to choose 3 cards here to look at what the energy of the day is about and what you'll be working with. Okay. So we have the 3 of Pentacles in reverse. The 3 of Pentacles is a minor arcana card, so it's about temporarily using your skills and building something. Then we have the Princess of Swords, a court card. She's inexperienced. She's not quite the Queen of Swords yet. She's working her way up to that by going on adventures and proving her worth. And then we have the Empress, a major arcana card. That's in reverse, and she is a queen. She's the Empress. She's beyond everything. She's certainly been through the mill, and she's achieved, and she's come out victorious on top, and that's why she has a crown on her head. So she's a woman who's in charge. So we've got an interesting thing here. The 2 cards that are in reverse really are saying that put aside all of the things that you know, especially this card, because this card is about expertise. So it's about building something that's going to stand the test of time, building the cathedral, for instance. There was a great book I read when I was a teenager called Pillars of the Earth by Ken Follett, and it was about this guy who builds these cathedrals. It was this very epic romance. If you're into that kind of thing, read that book. It's delightful. It'll whisk you away on this kind of fairy tale. So it's about using your skills and your expertise to really make something that is beautiful and long-term and really shows your meticulous handiwork and your skills and your crafts. It's not particularly religious, I don't think. It's just the setting is where, you know, if 500 years ago, 1,000 years ago, if you were an artist or something, and if you wanted to make work, you were either commissioned to do portraits of royalty or you were doing churches, right? So it's a way of expressing your skills and being someone who works at something but at the very top of their game. And that card is in reverse, and it's asking you to forget everything you think you know. It's saying, you know, you think you know you're very good at relationships and work and making things, and you think you have it all sussed, but put that aside for the minute and really open your mind to a different way of going about things, a different way of doing things, and possibly thinking about things in a new way. And this card says the same thing, because the Empress has been there and done that. I mean, she, you know, she would have had to, either she is the daughter of the Queen, or she's been married to a king or an emperor, and that's how she became the Empress. But certainly there would have been political intrigue. There would have been the pressures of looking good and producing heirs, and putting up with maybe an emperor who wasn't the most fun, whatever. It looks wonderful, and it looks very beautiful, and she's decked out in all her regalia there, and she's loaded, and she's rich and beautiful and everything. But, you know, behind that facade, there's a huge amount of duty, there's a huge amount of responsibility, there's personal sacrifice, self-denial, all of those things. You know, the Empress can't just go around doing what she wants. She has to represent the people. So really the Empress is about... It's not about wielding personal power for the amusement of the self. It's about being responsible and doing something for the greater good. And also, to get there, she would have faced difficulties. So it's about being someone who's experienced. The Empress is also the archetypal mother figure. So she knows how to be nurturing, how to love, how to comfort, how to soothe, how to protect, how to bring up children, which is a life work in itself. She's in reverse. So both of these cards are really, really knowing. Very knowing. And you know a lot about your life. You've lived it. No one knows your life better than you do. You've walked in your shoes. No one else has. But what we're getting via the cards today is that if you put all of that aside today and you do something different, or you think like a child again, get in touch with your own inner pure warrior goddess or warrior god who hasn't had all these experiences in life, who hasn't even gone to higher education or has even found work or done anything independently. Go back to that time where everything was possible and you hadn't had disappointments and you didn't learn about what works for you in life and what does work and what other people respond well to and what they don't respond well to. Forget all of that learning that you've done. Because by really opening yourself up and saying, okay, I'm young again at heart, or I'm young in my perception of the world, I'm young in the way I approach situations, you may be surprised by someone new and totally different and exciting walking into your life and really adding some new information, new feelings that you haven't felt before, a sense of hope, a sense of a future that you never even could dream of, that can potentially walk into your life. And the other thing that can happen if it's not in the shape of a person walking into your life, it can be a whole new way of perceiving yourself, perceiving the world, and being in the world. So your change of perception and your change of looking at things and leaving behind the old can really take you in a whole different direction in terms of what you're doing work-wise, in terms of the way you behave, in terms of what you value to be important or not important, the way you use your inspiration and your insights that you get from life, whether you've been dismissing them in the past or acting on them. All of that can change today. So, people always say that people don't change. If someone's a certain way, they're never going to change and that's the way they are and just forget about it. I don't believe that. I really think that people can change. It takes a lot of work and it's kind of gory sometimes because even when people say they're willing to change, the actual process of change is rough. But once people can do it, and once you do it, you can live a whole new life, a different life with your new perception of things. And it's better to do this in connection with a higher power. Wisdom that comes from the divine and from the above, that really has the right perspective and that genuinely is wise. Instead of relying on your own wisdom, because your own wisdom is something, yes, that's great and that you've accumulated, but it's taken you on a certain path, and that path is going to continue. And today you have the opportunity to totally make a lateral move and to switch paths and to jump onto another lane or to jump onto a whole different path that will take your life in a completely different direction. And that's big. And you've got to put aside your prejudices and your thinking and the way you feel everything ought to be done this way because I'm experienced and I know how to do it. If you are rigid like that, you're going to miss this opportunity. But if you open yourself up and become teachable, then you'll see this opportunity come into your life, whether it's in the shape of a woman or a man or an activity or information or a book or whatever it is. It can be life-changing today. The other thing that I was thinking about this morning, actually, I was thinking about the higher power and God and all of that. And I was thinking about when you go to the hospital and you go under anesthesia. And when you're under anesthesia, you're gone, aren't you? There's nothing there. You're dead. Well, it feels that way anyway. And then you come around and nothing, you have no concept of what was happening. And what it made me think is, I really do believe in God and I believe there's a higher power. And I'm not so sure about where we go when we die, whether that we return to God. That's what I'd like to believe. I feel that we go home and we go back into God because we're part of God right now. So when we die, we just leave the bodies behind and we go back into God. But what really struck me was that when you're alive, we have a real, it's really interesting because we have a really strong connection to that higher power. When we live our lives, we can make a choice. We can We can rob other people, and we can be negative, and we can fight, and we can compete. And that's kind of using negative ego energy. And we can make our lives that way, and we can build a life based on that. It's going to be full of conflict and arguments and difficulties, but it's a life. But then we can also tune into this God force that is here on earth in some way. If you close your eyes and you tune in and simply try and feel, put your feelers out there and feel this loving higher power. And sometimes you'll feel it and sometimes you won't. I remember I was walking to university one day and I was just walking along, and suddenly I felt like there was this ray of sunshine from the universe just lighting me up. And it wasn't actual light. It wasn't like the light had broken through the clouds. It was just like spiritually something had opened up, and I felt totally in the grace and light of God and the universe. So I know that I really feel there is a higher power, but I really feel that while we're human beings, that's when we get to choose. And that's what I think free will is about. Do we choose to work with this higher power and try and make a positive contribution to the world, even though it feels difficult? And we keep hope and we trust that things are going to go the way they're meant to, and that there is this loving higher power there despite what we see in the world every day and on the news? Or do we just forget about it and say, when I'm dead, my body is gone, and then I'm gone, and I might as well amuse myself? That doesn't work in my experience. I mean, I've been there and I've done that. And there is something bigger. And if we all go home anyway, once we're finished here on planet Earth, then we're home. Then the struggle's over. And I think we're here to make a choice, to either choose to try and better ourselves and to connect with something loving and positive, and then to be a channel for that, or to bring more negativity into the world. And I think it can be as simple as that. And then everything we do from that choice, that initial energetic vibration, that's what we end up doing. That's what our path is. And the reason I started all of this is you can make a lateral move onto a different path. So if your path has been, money laundering and stealing and hurting other people and covering things up and living this terrible life, and you feel like you're so jaded and embittered that there's no solution, today, if you put aside all of those certainties and you just open up again and you become willing to have an experience of love or something bigger, that can really transform all of that, and you can learn new skills that serve you more. So, good day for all the atheists, good day for all the people who've given up on life, good day for anyone who's at a crossroads who wants to make a change in their life and to embrace something new. The universe is with you and is telling you that if you want to make a change, you can hop into any dimension that you want to. It's pretty deep, wow. 3 and 3 is 6 and 1 is 7. 7 is about mind and creativity. So it's down to you. Swords is also thinking and ideas. So it's about you opening up your mind or keeping it closed. If you're like, there's nothing wrong with me, my life is fab as it is, I'm not making changes, then the day's done, no opportunity. But if you say, I'm not ideal, life has been really hard, I'm willing to make a change, I want to make a change, that's your day then. Because that's all the energy you need to bring to this day, willingness and being open-minded. So there you go. I hope you have a great day. It looks like an amazing day. If you'd like a private reading with me, then please get in touch via my website. It's gregoryscott.com. And I always say this, but I use astrology, tarot, and numerology in my readings because it gives me a really nice overview, and I can do an in-depth reading for you. The astrology is a blueprint of your soul, so it shows me why you're here, what you're going to be good at work-wise, what your strengths and weaknesses are in life, what's coming up for you in future in terms of your love life, in terms of your career, finance, health, spirituality, family relationships, relationship with siblings, money, when the best time is to move, to sell a house, to buy a house, all of those kind of things. Get in touch with me via the website. Please remember to subscribe to this YouTube channel, and I'll speak to you tomorrow.